All right, what the hell is this conversation about? LA this, LA that, what's going on? LA is just a scam, honestly. Do people in the US need to pay the price of a car to get in university / college? People don't live in LA because it's cheap. LA is just a scam, honestly. Sounds about right. Doesn't Los Angeles mean the city of angels or something? No clue how Ed affords to live there. I feel like he does not make nearly enough from YouTube / Twitch. LA isn't even that nice to redeem for high prices, etc, etc, etc. People move to LA because LA has nice weather. When you think about living in a place, one of the biggest things that you look for are weather. Okay, weather, and then what's called obviously cost of living matters, but for some people who want 24/7 70 degrees sunshine, okay, maybe not 24/7 obviously, if you want the majority of your year to be straight up sunshine, you go to LA. So for a lot of people, that's pretty dope. If you don't like dealing with snow, LA looks pretty good. However, there are the risk of like earthquakes. Okay, that kind of sucks. I have had, like, at the previous place where I lived with Box, we had an earthquake that literally had made cracks in the walls and like a leak in the roof. And also the landlord never fixed it. But anyways, so when you think of a place to live, you first think about the weather, okay? And the weather for LA is great. Let's also talk about we're talking about low levels. That's the correct term, right? Let's also talk about geographical advantages. Los Angeles is right next to the fucking ocean. So when someone is trying to ship things to the United States, Los Angeles has a giant ass fucking port where stuff can arrive. So if you're trying to build a business in LA, let's not talk about the terrorists. If you're trying to build a business in LA and you rely on overseas imports, well, guess what? Your transportation time gets cut in half by living right next to a port. They don't have to drive as far or ship or fly a plane as far if you're right next to a fucking port. There's a lot of geographical advantages for LA, right? Then there's also like the history, okay? Hollywood, right? It is the place for creatives and entertainment. A lot of people who are creative people who want to chase a dream see LA as this place where creatives go. It started with Hollywood. It obviously has a lot of connections with, like, you know, famous actors and shit. And guess what? If there are famous actors, there's probably going to be famous producers, videographers, editors, all people that you probably need if you're going to be a content creator. If you're a content creator, you probably deal with cameras. You probably deal with creative ideas, building sets, etc., etc. At least when you get to a certain point. Does that exist in other areas? Sure, but you have to find them. LA is kind of like this. It has the history of it just by association with Hollywood. So there's history with it. Now, we deal with the downsides. Cost of living, taxes, homelessness. There's a lot of things that are not going good for LA. And obviously when someone is moving to LA, they have to weigh those. Okay? A lot of that sucks. But for a person who is competent, they will weigh those advantages and those disadvantages. Okay? How much do they value the sunshine? How much do they value lower shipping times? How much do they value being around other creative people? If you're going to move to LA to sit in your room and play video games, good luck. Eventually, you will be financially forced to make a decision. Eventually. For other people, they see it as an opportunity, okay? Because there's some things that you can't place a value on. When you move to LA, you don't know who you're going to meet. But I can tell you something. Luck can be manipulated. You can place yourself in situations where you are more open to lucky things happening. If I was still in Lynchburg, there's a lot of things that happened to me out of sheer luck that definitely would not have happened. There have been a lot of opportunities that I never could have planned for that were only given to me because of living in LA. Did I expect that to happen? I had no idea. It was a risk. Okay? And for now, that risk is working. So that's it. Is it still expensive? Yes. Do I still think it's going to be worth it long term? I don't know. I don't actually know. But I'll tell you this. When I did move to LA, I moved to LA with a purpose, okay? I moved to LA to specifically take advantage of rolling the fucking dice. I'm not going to come to LA to be a streamer just to play video games for 24 hours a day. I come to LA because I'm hoping that I can find and meet people who can introduce me to other people, who can introduce me to other people that will allow me to create opportunities for myself and my community that otherwise I'll never be able to do by myself. And I have accomplished that. So yeah, it's pretty dope. That doesn't sound like rolling dice. That sounds like actual work. But the cost of living and all this other stuff. Yes, it sucks ass. But like for the type of person who is going to move to LA, who has competency, understands that that is the price that you pay to roll the dice. And for a lot of people, it just doesn't work out and they have to end up moving out. And it is what it is, right? You took a chance. That doesn't mean that chance is never going to happen again, all right? But maybe you have to work on yourself. So, this is what it is. I will say, and I went on a podcast that should be coming out in like 1 or 2 months. I talked about like how much money I made and like the actual impact of moving to LA. I'll save it for people to consume that on their own time. But moving to LA has been very good for me. Now, I will say a lot of the value that I gotten from LA, I can't really place a price tag on, right? Because it's people. I can't place a value on the people that I've met. But I do know that those people have opened doors for me that never would have been opened before. And those opportunities, those doors that have been opened, have made a lot of money. So if you are not valuing, if none of that sounds valuable to you, LA simply does not make sense. It really doesn't. But there's a reason why people still move to LA. There's a reason why people still dream or have the goal of coming to LA. Something is causing people to move there. And for me, it was the network. Oh, one last thing. Something that I will say. For most people, I would not recommend coming to LA, like moving to LA. But I would highly recommend, if you have a contact, visit it. There's this group of people that I think are doing something like absolutely like super smart. They're this it's a small business that is currently based in San Francisco, but they interact with creators a lot. So what they've been doing recently is that for one single month, they just rented out like an Airbnb. For that 1 month, they're spending the next 30 days just networking, just talking with creators, talking with industry professionals, all the people who are based in Los Angeles, forming those connections. And once that month is done, then they just go back home. That's such a genius fucking idea. You don't have to deal with all the rest of the baggage that LA comes with. Now, in my opinion, I don't think San Francisco is that much better. San Francisco has its own problems, but that's dope. But it's also part of the reason why, if any Osu creator is interested in coming to LA, hit me up. I live in LA. John Porler stayed in my fucking office, dude. Like, dude, that's dope.